Yemeni militants are celebrating what they claim is the downing of a Moroccan F-16 fighter jet conducting airstrikes. Morocco confirmed that a plane disappeared over Yemen and continues to investigate. If confirmed, it would be the first Saudi Arabian-led coalition aircraft to be shot down since the bombing campaign began in March. And South Korea is warning that North Korea could have a submarine fleet capable of launching missiles in 5 years. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un oversaw a test launch last Friday. French President Francois Hollande is calling on the U.S. to end its embargo on Cuba. He said France would do its utmost to ensure that the measures are repealed. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu clinched a last-minute deal to form a new coalition government. He forged alliances with the Nationalist Jewish Home Party, the centrist Kulanu Party, and several ultra-Orthodox parties. He pulled off another term in power, but his coalition has the narrowest of parliamentary majorities, just one vote. Joining us in the studio to talk about the newly formed coalition government is Arise TV analyst Charles Goldberg. Charles, good to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
So let's start wide and then we'll drill down. First of all, why was it so difficult for Netanyahu to form this government?
Because in reality, he won 30 seats, which is up from about the 21 or 22 predicted, but he basically poached those seats from other right-wing parties by warning them that warning their voters that if they didn't vote for him, according to Israel's system, the party with the largest number gets the first crack at forming the government, and the opposition, center-left party, which had formed a coalition with another party and called the Zionist Union, was going to get the first crack. So a lot of the voters that would have voted for this, more of the fringe parties, voted for him. But in reality, they ended up with the same number of seats. The center and the right ended up with the same number of seats that they were thought to have been able to get, which is about 67 seats. Now, he was able to first get a centrist party called Kulanu, which you mentioned before, and that party is a new party run by a former Likud minister, and his interests are domestic, about lowering housing costs and cost of living. And Netanyahu promised him the ministries that would be able to control those issues.
Before we talk about these parties and their interests, let's talk a little bit about Lieberman, his really partner, if you will, in governing the foreign minister. He left Netanyahu, formed a new independent party. Would that be the correct way to characterize it?
He had started a party in 2009, and they had gotten 15 seats in the Knesset. In the 2013 elections, he joined Netanyahu and they formed one party called Likud Beitenu, and he got about 11 of their 31 seats went to his party. But then there was a lot of corruption and probes into his party recently, and he went down to 6 seats. So his party really kind of is falling apart. It's really a party that's nationalistic, kind of right-wing, but it's also very secular, and it's comprised, the voters are almost all former immigrants from the former Soviet Union. So it's a very narrow party.
Netanyahu was up against the clock. He had to form this coalition government by midnight and then inform the president that he had done so, and he was able to do so. Now that clock has stopped, does he have time now to go back and bring in more interest, more people into his coalition?
Yeah, he's doing it now. He hasn't stopped from the minute he announced that he had the coalition, because he knows this 61 to 59 majority is too small. Basically, any one member of his coalition can, over any issue, can blackmail him and bring down the government. So he really has to find, and I think he's trying to peel off some members of the Lieberman party, the Israel Beitenu party, without Lieberman personally, but to get them to join him.
Let's backstep then and talk about some of these other parties that are now part of his coalition and what their interests are and how they might work together or against one another.
Right. So I mentioned the centrist party, Kulanu, and their interests are economic. There's also ultra-Orthodox Jewish parties one is called Shas, and that's a Sephardic. Those are Jews from the Middle East, from Central Asia, from Persia, and of that background. And there's one called United Torah Judaism, which also is ultra-Orthodox, but is Ashkenazic Jews from European descent. And they make up 13 seats of his coalition. But they're not interested, and their primary interest is in their own institutions, and there's a dispute over whether or not people of that background, of ultra-Orthodox background, should have to serve in the military if they're studying at religious institutions. And that's what their interests are. They're not nationalistic in the sense that they believe in holding on to all the land, and they don't fight really for the country, and they're not even Zionist ideologically.
Okay.
They're religious. Then you have what's called the Jewish Home Party. The Jewish Home Party is a coalition also of a number of parties. One was a National Religious Party and a couple of right-wing parties. And that's a religious party, but it's what they call in Israel Dati Leumi. It's a religious nationalist party. They all serve in the military. They're proudly Zionists. And they actually make up most of the middle-level officers in the Israeli army now because they're much more enthusiastic about serving the country than a lot of the secular Israelis today. So while it used to be members of the commune, agriculture communes were the ideal in the army and the Israeli military culture, now it's these religious Zionist nationalist soldiers who do that. And they're represented by that party. And that party, the Jewish Home Party, had 8 seats. He needed them, and they basically held a gun to his head because they felt he'd stolen a lot of their voters.
Well, he put many of these parties in sort of a good position, a good negotiating position, if you will, because he needed them so much. So here's my question here before I have to let you go, and that is, how long can this government stay together?
Yeah, I don't think it can last long the way it's currently designed. I think that he has to find a way, and he has 2 options. Either get Lieberman, the Yisrael Beitenu, the Russian Immigrant Party in, which it's a dicey proposition because Lieberman has reasons not to join. Or he could turn to the center-left party, or at least part of it, the Zionist Union, called the Labor Party, and Isaac Herzog, who was a former unity government. And that's what he wants to do. And he's kept the foreign ministry vacant, and he's basically going to act as his own foreign minister. And he wants to offer that to Isaac Herzog at the appropriate time, perhaps after Labor primaries in a year and a half, and have them join.
All right, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. It's going to be interesting to see how it rolls out, and I'm so glad there's not a test after this conversation. Charles Goldberg, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Now coming up on Arise America, the New England Patriots and star quarterback Tom Brady hammered by the NFL and Deflategate fallout. We'll tell you about this unheard of punishment when we come back.